All right, let's jump into another deep dive. And, this one, it's going to be a fun one, I think. Today we're going to be looking at artist journals. Those things that so many creative people use all the time and think about. And we're looking specifically at some material put out by Lestallion. And Lestallion, they're pretty well known for their artist journals.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It seems like they're trying to get at something deeper here. It's not just about selling notebooks.
Right.
They seem to really be trying to tap into this deeper connection that artists have with their journals.
Yeah, it's fascinating how a simple notebook, I mean, it really is just a notebook, but it can become such a powerful tool for artists. And it's interesting to think about this idea that it really can be like a secret portal, into their creative process, this place to capture ideas and to experiment and to track their evolution as an artist, all of that in one place.
Yeah, it's almost like a time machine,
Yeah.
Because you can go back and you can look at your older work and you can see how you've progressed.
Exactly.
And it makes me think about my cousin. She's a graphic designer.
Yeah.
And she always carries around this Lestallion journal with her everywhere she goes. And it really is, it's beat up.
Mm-hmm.
It's got coffee stains on it and dog-eared pages.
Yeah.
It's been through the ringer.
Yeah.
But she says it's like an extension of her brain. She'll be out and about. She'll sketch logos on napkins at a restaurant, or she'll jot down font ideas in the margins of a newspaper, just wherever she can.
Right.
But then it all ends up in her journal.
Yeah.
And it's so meticulously organized. She swears by those numbered pages and the table of contents. She says it just makes it so easy to reference past ideas and to really see how her style has developed over time.
And that's one of the things that Lestallion really emphasizes is this idea of organization. And it makes sense, right? I mean, for artists, ideas can strike at any moment. You never know when you're going to have that burst of inspiration.
Yeah.
So having that dedicated space to capture them it's really crucial.
It's like a safety net for inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know when that lightning bolt is going to hit, so you better be prepared. But I guess, why an artist journal specifically, right? Like, isn't just a regular notebook enough?
Well, you could argue that any notebook can be an artist journal, right?
Wow.
It's just a notebook. But I think the right journal can really enhance that whole creative process. It can really make a difference. And a basic notebook, it just doesn't have what it takes. And it's not just about like jotting things down. It's about having this space that's really tailored for your needs as an artist.
Yeah, and Lestallion, they really go in depth about the features that set their journals apart.
Uh-huh.
And one of the big ones is the paper quality.
Oh, yeah.
They use 120 GSM acid-free paper. And that seems like kind of a big deal for artists who work with, a variety of media.
Right. Paper quality is so important, especially if you're using, like you said, a lot of different media, mixed media. The acid-free paper is really important because it prevents the paper from deteriorating.
Oh, so your artwork, it doesn't fade. It doesn't become brittle over time.
Right.
And 120 GSM, that's the weight of the paper.
Okay.
It's excellent for preventing bleed through, which if you've ever, used watercolors or inks or markers, you don't want it bleeding through to the other side.
Yeah, I remember this is bringing back memories.
Yeah.
My mom, she had this beautiful antique journal. It was leather bound, these thick, creamy pages. And I was probably about 10 years old, and I decided that would be the perfect canvas for my masterpiece, which involved lots of glue and watercolors. Let's just say the results were not ideal.
I can imagine. So like the pages probably warped, right?
Oh, yeah.
They buckled.
Oh, it was a disaster.
From all that creative energy.
A disaster of epic proportions.
Yeah.
My mom was not thrilled.
Yeah, I bet not.
It was that point that I learned, the hard way about choosing the right paper for the job.
Right.
And I can totally see why Lestallion makes such a big deal about this.
Yeah.
They even talk about the luxurious feel of their paper.
Yeah.
Which, for an artist, I imagine that's an important part of the experience.
Absolutely. It's about creating an inviting space, right? A tactile experience, something that's going to enhance your flow and help you be more creative. And it's not even just about the paper. Lestallion also highlights the importance of the binding.
Okay.
They use a Smith-sewn binding, and that allows the journal to lay flat, which makes it easier to sketch across 2 pages if you want to.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah, I've been there.
Oh, I remember struggling with those spiral-bound notebooks in art class.
Uh-huh.
To try to draw a panoramic landscape with that coil getting in the way, it was a nightmare.
It's like, how am I supposed to do this?
Yeah. And it's not even just about avoiding the obstacles. It's also about making sure that the artwork is protected and preserved for years to come. It's like
Absolutely.
you're creating a legacy,
Yeah.
a tangible record of your artistic journey. And speaking of that, I just remembered they include a ribbon bookmark in these journals.
Mm.
It's a small detail, I know,
Yeah.
but I can see how that would add to the sense of, like, intentionality. Like you're treating this journal as something precious.
It's that little extra touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a subtle invitation to return to it.
Yeah.
Pick up where you left off.
Right. Keep exploring.
Keep
Exactly.
going. Keep creating.
Yeah, and it's more than just like, collecting sketches or random ideas.
Right.
It really is a reflection of your journey as an artist, your growth, your struggles, your triumphs.
It's almost like a visual diary,
Yeah.
capturing not just what they create, but how they feel, how they see the world. Speaking of seeing the world, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. He's a landscape painter.
Mhm.
And he was telling me how he uses his Lestallion journal to, like, document his travels.
Oh, wow.
He'll sketch these panoramic views, and he'll jot down these color observations, and he even presses wildflowers between the pages.
That's so cool. What a beautiful way to just like capture the essence of a place, bring a little piece of it back with you. And I think that's really cool because it shows how versatile these journals can be. It's not just a sketchbook. It's like a travelogue, a repository for inspiration, like
Yeah.
whatever you need it to be.
It's a chameleon of creativity. It adapts to you.
Exactly.
So speaking of adapting, let's talk about different journal types,
Right.
right? Because we've been talking a lot about Lestallion,
Uh-huh.
but Lestallion is not the only game in town.
No, not at all. There's so many different journals out there, and each one is going to have its own personality, its own purpose.
Right.
You've got those classic hardbound journals that are super sturdy and reliable.
Yeah.
And those are great if you're working on like a long-term project or if you just, prefer something more formal.
Yeah, it's like the stately mansions of the journal world. They're meant to last for generations.
Exactly. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have like the soft-cover journals. Those are lightweight. They're portable. You can just throw them in your bag.
Yeah.
Those are great for, sketching on the go if you're, out and about.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about the bullet journals.
Right.
Those are super popular these days, and they're a really great way to combine creativity and organization.
It's like a multi-tool for your mind.
Exactly. They're great for artists who want to like plan their day, keep track of their tasks, but also have a place for their artistic side,
And I've seen some people get incredibly elaborate with their bullet journals.
Oh, for sure.
It's almost an art form in itself.
It is. It's all about personalization, creating something that really reflects you, your style, your needs.
Yeah.
And that's so important because there is no one size fits all when it comes to journals. It's about finding one that speaks to you, that inspires you.
It's like finding your soulmate, but in this stationery aisle.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
But how do you know which one's the right fit,
Right.
Like, what are some things artists should consider when they're choosing a journal?
Well, I think the first thing to think about is your artistic style. So what kind of media do you typically use?
Okay.
If you're working with dry media like pencils or charcoal, you're going to want something with, a thicker, more textured paper.
And if you're a watercolor enthusiast,
Mhm.
you're going to want to make sure that the paper can handle those wet media without buckling or bleeding through.
Exactly. And binding is another big one.
Right.
If you like to work across 2 pages, you need something that's going to lay flat. So something like a Smith-sewn binding or a Coptic stitch binding.
Okay.
And then there are all sorts of other features like pockets for storing your inspiration,
Right.
elastic closures, keep everything secure,
Yeah.
ribbon bookmarks to mark your place. It's those little details that really make it special.
I remember when I first started journaling, I had this plain spiral-bound notebook, and it did the job, but it lacked that special something.
Right.
And then I found this beautiful leather-bound journal. It had a ribbon bookmark and a little pocket for holding mementos, and it felt so much more special.
Yeah.
It felt more intentional. And it completely transformed the experience from just, writing things down to actually like a ritual of self-expression.
It's about creating a space, right, where you can really let your creativity flow.
Yeah. And speaking of flow, let's talk about how to actually use an artist journal.
Okay.
What are some tips for people who are just starting out, who are new to all of this?
I think the most important thing is to just approach it with a sense of playfulness, a sense of experimentation. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, to try new things,
Yeah.
Let your imagination run wild. It's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about capturing the process, the journey of discovering your own style.
And that brings me back to something that Lestallion talks about.
Yeah.
Their journals are designed to be super versatile.
Mm.
So you can do all sorts of things with them.
Absolutely.
It can be quick sketches, it can be detail illustrations, color explorations, mixed media experiments, like whatever you want.
It's like having a portable art studio, right?
Yeah, exactly. But with so many possibilities, it can be overwhelming. So do you have any advice for overcoming that
Yeah.
blank page anxiety?
I would say start small.
Okay.
Don't feel like you need to fill an entire page or create a masterpiece. Just start with something simple. A little doodle,
Yeah.
a color swatch, maybe a quote that inspires you,
Yeah.
or even just like a list of words that describe how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Sometimes the simplest things can spark the biggest ideas.
And remember, there are no rules in an artist's journal.
Right.
It's your space to explore, to express yourself however you want.
Exactly. It's a playground for your imagination.
You know what that makes me think about when I was a kid? My dad built this amazing tree house in our backyard.
Oh, wow.
It had this rickety ladder and a trap door
Yeah.
and a secret hiding spot under the floorboards.
That's awesome.
It was our own little world. We would spend hours up there drawing on the walls and telling stories and creating our own adventures.
It sounds magical.
It was. And in a way, I think that an artist's journal is kind of like a grown-up version of that.
I like that. Yeah.
It's a sanctuary for your creative spirit,
Mhm.
a place where you can escape from the everyday and just tack into that childlike sense of wonder and possibility.
Yeah, it is funny how those certain things can take you right back to being a kid,
Right.
That sense of just pure creativity.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something we can all tap into, no matter how old we are or what our experience level is.
Absolutely. The artist's journal, it's a reminder that creativity is not a destination. It's a journey. It's about embracing the process, the exploration, the joy of making things.
So speaking of making things, let's talk about what we actually put in these journals, right? Because we've talked about sketches and color palettes, but what else can we put in there?
I think you should think of it as a visual conversation that you're having with yourself.
And it can include anything that sparks that creative fire in you, So it could be snippets of conversations that you overheard or quotes that really resonate with you or even dreams that you had that you jotted down when you wake up.
Oh, I love that. It's like creating a mosaic of inspiration. Like you're piecing together these fragments of your inner and outer world.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of words in an artist's journal.
Yeah.
Because writing can be just as expressive as drawing or painting. And you can use it to, brainstorm ideas or to work through a creative block or just to reflect on your journey as an artist.
That makes me think about my grandmother. She wasn't an artist in the traditional sense,
Okay.
but she kept the most amazing journals. They were filled with pressed flowers and handwritten recipes and stories about her childhood.
Yeah.
And she even had like these little sketches of dresses that she would design for her dolls.
Wow.
And, it wasn't art with a capital A,
Yeah.
but it was so full of heart and personality.
Right. And it's a beautiful example of how an artist's journal, it doesn't have to conform to any specific definition.
Right.
It's a reflection of you and your passions, your observations, your unique way of seeing the world.
Yeah, it's those personal touches that make it so special.
Yeah.
I remember finding one of her journals, and she had pasted in this tiny faded photograph of herself as a young girl. She was standing on a beach with her family, and next to the photo she had written, "This is where I learned to dream in color."
Oh, wow. That's so powerful. It really shows the emotional depth that these journals can hold.
Yeah.
They become vessels for our memories, our dreams, our most cherished moments.
And that's something that I think Lestallion understands, because they really emphasize that their journals are not just about creating art.
Right.
They're about documenting a life lived creatively. And they even include a dedication page at the beginning of each journal where you can write a little note to yourself, or to future generations who might find your work.
It's a beautiful thought. It's a reminder that our creative endeavors, they're not just for us. They have the potential to touch and inspire others.
It's like sending a message in a bottle.
Yeah.
You're just casting your creativity out into the sea of time,
That's a great analogy.
hoping it washes up on some distant shore and sparks a flame in someone else's heart.
I love it.
And who knows, maybe someday someone will find our journals tucked away in an attic somewhere and they'll be transported to our world, to our time. to the inner workings of our creative minds.
What a legacy to leave behind.
Yeah, and it all starts with a simple act.
Yeah.
Opening that journal and putting pen to paper or brush to canvas or whatever medium calls to you.
It's about embracing the journey, the process, the imperfections along the way.
And remembering that there's an artist within each of us just waiting to be discovered.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep diving deep.